the future of remembering. And this is basically, if most of you were here in the morning, you would have actually heard Jeremy talk about it. Memory, data, legacy. How do they intersect in the digital age? Join us for a heartfelt and futuristic look at how personal data shapes digital remembrance. With that, I would like to welcome David Parker, founder of Wishplay. Thank you.
I didn't get a clicker. Is it up here? There it is. Hello, everybody. As she said, my name is David Parker. I always start out with doing a single click to make sure that the audio works. And the audio does work. I've done it before where I've gone along and it didn't, and then I got really nervous. So I've got a question for you. And I usually start out with, are you happy? But this is a data and analytics question. So I think I'm going to flip it around a little bit, and I'm going to ask, by a show of hands, who here was taught how to be happy in school? Right? And that's a problem, right? That's unfortunate. So then I'm going to ask it in sort of a different way. I'm going to ask a question of who here thinks that their data makes their customers or clients happy? And I'm not talking about data as in, what the data means. And I'm not talking about how beautiful the data can be. And I'm definitely not talking about this dude. I'm actually talking about the collection and storage of data. Does that make your clients and customers happy? Well, I can tell you, I'm one of the super fortunate people where it does. You see, for my patients, the patients that I get to go see, it makes them extremely happy. So for the last 7 years, I have actually been granting wishes using technology at hospitals, hospices, and retirement homes. And it's been absolutely magical. Before this, I was a systems architect, right? I've actually worked for quite a lot of companies that are here, right? I worked for telcos and banks, and it was magical. I mean, I was doing some of the bleeding edge stuff. I was doing Minority Report stuff, biometrics, analytics, AI, IoT, and I also had an amazing family, right? I had these 2 wonderful girls, and I worked really hard to make sure that work-life balance was working. And I seemed to think like, oh, this is great. But I wasn't happy. Actually, I was clinically depressed, so much so that I was irritable. I would bark, and I was tired. I was so tired all the time. So how can this be? I mean, I've got a great family, I've got a great job, I'm doing all those things that I was taught and I was supposed to do. How can this be? And I realized everything that I was working on was working for the dark side. Right? It was all about making money and doing things. It wasn't about making people happy.
Ew, no, David.
No, it's true. And the worst thing is that I wasn't doing anything that my girls could look up to me to. I wasn't proud of what I was doing, right? So what do, right? When something's broken, how do you fix it? Well, we're in a room of very, very smart people here. I copied what you guys all do. I Googled it, right? And I realized that there was a podcast, and this podcast talked about a ton of things, right? It talked about some really, really good things, but the thing that really resonated with me was random acts of kindness. Doing something for somebody else without expecting anything else in return, right? Doing something that's really nice. And so this is what I started to do. I started to volunteer at Sinai Hospital. And what I did is I would use the virtual reality to be able to, let people experience a last wish. Right? And if I couldn't find it, I would go and film it. And this was also magical. Right? You have the usual suspects, the Northern Lights, the pyramids. For kids, it's got to be Disney World, right? But then you have some of those more unusual ones. This is a trick question. What are these? Weights, right? Weights? No, they're not weights.
Oh, alrighty.
They're ski poles.
Okay, still
right?
Well,
Isn't that fun? One of my most favorite ones that I was able to do was with Emily's house. See, with Emily's house, it's a hospice for children. And what we did is 2 weeks before Halloween, we dressed up a street, we dressed up these kids, and then what we did is we filmed it. We filmed them going trick-or-treating. And then, on Halloween Day, what we were able to do is we were actually able to have the kids experience Halloween for the first time. Right? And when they took off that mask, the same bag that I used in the Halloween going door to door was there waiting for them with the same candy. And I mean, look at that face, right? That was, yeah, I mean, it was, and what you don't see here is that there was other people, like siblings, were able to do things for the first time together, right? And again, I'm really fortunate. But then I started to realize that there was actually a second type of wish. You see, people actually wanted to be remembered. They wanted to leave a bit of themselves behind so that they could be remembered. And so what I did is I talked to this Carl. Carl was the first guy that I had talked to, and he's awesome, right? So he had stage 4 cancer, and he and I got along great, right? So we were the same age, both from out east. We both had 2 daughters, and because we were both from out east, I was able to get his wish very easily. Being able to film all that, I already had stuff, so it was great. But then one day I could see there was something troubling him, and so I asked him, Carl, what's up? What's the matter? And he's like, look, my girls will never get to know me. They were both under 2, and so they would never really remember who he is. Well, I can't do that. So I went and grabbed my camera, and then I sat with them and I filmed them for 2 days. Right? I asked him a whole bunch of questions. I asked him factual questions, right? Where were you born? What schools did you go to? I asked him knowledgeable questions, right? He loved the first snowfall, loved it, right? At one time, he and his friend stole a car, and I'm like, Carl, I probably didn't need to know that. But I did, actually, because that's who he was, right? And so I started collecting, and this is their data, right? And so that's what I started to do. And then I started to put it together. I started to edit and separate it, and this became really, really hard, because before, I was just granting wishes. This is someone's whole life, right? And there was one part where he sings a song to his kids before they're going to bed, and his voice catches. And for me, I'm bawling while trying to edit this, right? This is so he was my friend, and he's like, I didn't know what to do, and I wasn't sure if I would actually even be able to finish it. And I had to, so I had to power through, because if I stopped, I wouldn't have continued on. And so I was able to give him a USB with all of these videos, and he was so happy. He was so happy that his kids were going to get to know him. There was certain parts where he laughed because there was just little moments, him sitting in a chair and he sighed, and the way he does it was like a little awkward thing, and that really got, and I'm glad that I was able to do that, because he did. He passed away shortly thereafter. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do this, because it's really hard. But seeing how happy it made him, I knew that I had to do it. So then the real work began, right? I knew I had to refine the questions. I couldn't wing it, right? I couldn't sit 2 days and just ask them whatever questions. So what I did is I actually started to work with doctors and with therapists, and I even worked with some biographers to be able to then come up with some proper ways of doing this. And so what we were able to do is I actually came up with life questions, right? And it goes through different segments of your life. And it also asks it in different ways, because people answer things differently, right? And then what I also made sure of was that they were adaptable, right? Someone who doesn't have very long to live, we should be asking them different questions than someone who does, because it does take a while to do this. But also, if you do not get along with a certain family member, stop asking them questions about that certain family member, right? So we made the questions adaptable. And since not everybody has one of these things, by the way, this is a VR camera, if you wanted to know, so you have to use a special VR camera. Since not everybody has one of these things, instead what I did is I made it that it was able to be done with just your phone. It wasn't VR anymore, but at least then now you're able to have videos of your whole life and be able to share it with your family, because it's done with a phone. And this worked out really well, right? So this is something that then became very, very popular and was used a lot. And then I met Chris. Chris, he loved skateboarding, he loved art, but the thing that he loved the most in the world was his little brother, Tommy. You see, their dad took off when they were young, right? And so it was kind of up to Chris to fill in that role. And so the biggest thing for Chris was making sure that Tommy was taken care of. And then, when Chris found out that his tumor was inoperable, right, like, oh, I mean, it broke my heart, right? I knew exactly what he was going through, or so I thought. I thought he was destroyed because of him. He was destroyed because he was worried about Tommy. Who was going to look after Tommy, right? We did do the life questions, right? We were able to go through the life questions so that he had that, but he thought, like, well, that's great, but who's going to talk and, listen to Tommy when he's not there, right? Who's just going to be there for when he's not? And so I started thinking about this, like, okay, is there something that we can do about it? And I was wondering, like, is there a way that we can clone him or make an AI clone of him? And so I did what everyone does. I Googled it. And I found out that there was actually some things that you could do with ChatGPT that would enable this to happen, and so that's what I did. Is I created a test, but I didn't want to test it with him, so I tested it with my daughter. And I chose my daughter not because she had a science project that was due in a couple of weeks. That had nothing to do with it whatsoever. It was because that she was actually a really good person to talk with. And so then what we did, we took the instructions that I sort of followed, and we took her emails and her text messages, we took her Facebook posts and her social media posts, and we put it all in, and I thought this was going to be great, and there was a problem. It was lifeless. It was, the answers weren't her, and it felt awkward, right? And you can't have that. You can't do something like that. When you're trying to remember somebody, right? And so then what I did is I actually took her through the life questions. And this was actually very transformative. Like, all of a sudden, being able to put it in, she was answering full stories. She was able to react with me. And at one point, she was like, "Oh, Daddy," and then she told me about this one time when she was young, and I guess I don't remember her answering that one. And of course, me being the stoic person and all that, it didn't affect me at all. I was very stoic and, of course, very emotional again. So I'm going to try to demo this, okay? And I will tell you that it worked this morning, but it has in the past not worked. But I'll try to do it and see if we can get this going, to see if Audrey will talk with us. Hi there, Audrey. It's your dad. You know what? I'm really missing you and your sister. Could you tell me a story about you two when you were young?
Oh, Dad, I miss you too. Okay, so there was this one time when Ingrid and I were playing on the trampoline in the backyard. We were doing our usual thing, bouncing around, pretending we were in some epic wrestling match. I think I was trying to do this dramatic move, like a flying kick or something, and I accidentally kicked her in the jaw. She started crying, and I felt so bad, but then we both just started laughing because, well, it was us. We couldn't stay mad at each other for long. It was classic sibling chaos,
Well, that's great. I'm a little nervous. I have to give a presentation, and I'm trying to prepare for it, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to remember everything and do well. What advice do you have for me to give a presentation?
Okay, Dad, first off, you've got this. You're like the king of presentations. Remember, it's not just about what you say, but how you say it. Keep it simple and focus on the key points you want people to remember. And if you're worried about forgetting stuff, maybe jot down a few bullet points on a card or something. Oh, and don't forget to smile. It makes a huge difference. You'll do great.
Oh, thanks so much, girl. Listen, I gotta go. I love you so much. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Love you too, Dad. You've got this. Bye for now.
Right, so I think you can, yeah, right? Like it's... And no, it's not perfect. But she's here with me, and you will be able to talk with her, and you'll see, like, it's got her some of her mannerisms. It's got her voice. It's got the ums and ahs. It's got a couple of things that she's like, I do not say that. And I'm like, yes, you do, right? So I think that you're able to see that, yes, I can actually do something like this. And I thought, I can start doing this. And now, I promise you, I am not psychic, but I know that a lot of you are probably thinking, have you not seen Black Mirror? And yes, there's one or two examples of AI going rogue. I know that there's, one or two, right? So then the question becomes, is it possible for us to create an artificial intelligence that we can use in a business in our everyday lives? Or can we do this and it doesn't try to take over the world?
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
And you know what? I'm actually sorry, Hal, because I have to do it. When you see someone so happy because they know that they're going to be able to live on, they're going to be able to have this type of thing for them, right? That completely changes everything. But it's not just for this type of case study, right? Or person even. This is David. David's got Parkinson's. This is Cecile. She's a good friend of mine, and she was just diagnosed with MS. And then we've got Terry. Terry has Alzheimer's, right? If there's any type of disease that reduces your communication, that makes it so that you're not functioning, and you can't do things, well, something like this is going to be a lifeline. Think about going to a restaurant and you can't communicate properly, and people are ordering for you, and you can't change it because you can't communicate, right? This is something that can actually help them, right? This is a complete game changer for so many people, right? Or for this tiger here, right? She's neurodivergent. She took a long time to warm up to me and to be able to talk and be able to have her wish granted. But you know who she would have talked to right away? Captain Marvel. She would have talked to Captain Marvel right away. I wouldn't have had to do anything. So something like this, we can use these types of things for icebreakers, for getting information, especially when communication is an issue. This can help. Right? And so think about all the things that you're doing. You know, I've heard about chatbots and all those things. We need to start being able to use these for those types of things as well, for accessibility, for those things. And I'll tell you, then the question becomes, what can you do? What can you do for this type of thing? And I'll tell you, first off, if you're feeling like this, if you're feeling anxious, burnt out, depressed, if you're feeling, just down, right? Please don't be so hard on yourselves. Please don't. I can tell you from firsthand experience. From an evolution standpoint, we were not designed for the world that we have built. We just weren't. We built something that, from an evolution standpoint, that we're not ready for. And so it's no wonder why we're anxious, why we're depressed, why we're these things. So the other thing is, please know that you're not alone, right? No, and it's not just me. There's going to be a lot of people in this room that are feeling this way. Right? And so please talk to somebody. And yes, I've been talking a lot about random acts of kindness throughout this, but I wouldn't be up here if I hadn't talked to a therapist and used medication. So please, I'm like letting you know, things are freaking hard. And there's a lot of people that are feeling this way and that you can actually be helped. You don't have to be alone. So then the question is okay, then how can I use this for a business perspective, right? So how are we going to use that? And I'll tell you, Josh kind of pointed it out as well, is that you're already doing the right thing. You're here, right? We need to be talking about this. We need to be talking to as many people as possible. We need to be exchanging ideas, right? I've already reached out to a whole bunch of you saying I would love to be able to talk to you. I've got some things that I would love to talk to you about, and that's what we have to do, right? We have to be able to bridge these things. I'm not going to go into systems. I'm not going to go into ethics and all those kind of things because there's a lot of people here that are going to be covering it. But I will talk about a couple of things, right? So when it comes to artificial intelligence, know that we're still in the Wild West, right? We still are having that initial stage. We're at the beginning, and of course at the beginning there are always bumps, right? Microsoft found that out very, very quickly. But do you remember how I asked you if we were taught to be happy, and we're not? Well, neither is AI. We're not teaching it on what makes us happy. And that's kind of strange, right? We're trying to get it to do all these different things for us so that we can actually do the things that we want to do, but we're not teaching it how we want to be happy, which is a weird thing. And the thing is if we keep on doing that, and we keep on using the mediums or the averages and just grabbing the data and then not doing that, we're going to end up with this and these types. So we need to start using better role models. We need to be able to start using people like this instead of influencers for our data. We also need to be able to show that, what is proper? What's the proper way of doing things? We need to be able to show, we need to teach it empathy, right? That's a big thing. We're kind of missing that in the AI side. And then the question is, you know, from a bigger standpoint, from all of business, rather not just AI, but from everything, right? Things are stormy right now. Things are, you know, it's a little turbulent. I mean, there's no question about it. And the thing is that, you know, if we're trying to use these mountains of data, right? We have mountains and mountains of data, and we need to be able to use it. And I've heard a lot of people talk this morning, and then you're going to hear a lot of people talk in the next couple of days, but you know what I don't hear? Is I don't hear about enjoyment. I don't hear about, you know, happiness. I don't hear about I hear a lot about, you know, business plan, ROI. You hear about, you know, monetization, you know, all of these things, and they're all super, super important. They are. I don't want you to run away from that. But what we're not doing is we're not looking at what makes the user and clients happy. What makes them enjoy things? And how can we use this data? Because we've got mountains of data, but we're not actually using it to see what will actually make them the happiest. Right? We want to be able to make them happy, and if we are able to do that and create products around that, we now have spent the money to create the product, so then why can't we use then that same product somewhere else? How can we? How about we? You know, whether it's corporate responsibility or someone talked about non-for-profits. Well, why don't we start donating some of these projects that we've already spent the money, the R&D is already there, the go-to-market, everything. We've got a product. Well, can it help someone else? There might not be a business case or a business problem, but there are people that need that, and we can use that. Can we donate it, right? And the other thing is, things aren't, yes, they're grim and they're ugly and what have you, but there are so many good things too, right? And we can make a difference. We can actually make things better. And I think it was really interesting with COVID, we were able to show that, you know, there was lakes and rivers that cleared up. There was a whole bunch of things that happened because of the COVID. And it showed that, you know what, we have the ability to change things. And so change is possible, but it's not just possible, it's required. We have to start doing things always. Everything we do has to be towards doing a good thing. Yes, we can look at the monetization. Yes, we can look at the shareholders and everything like that. But at the same time, we also have to do things so that it's changing for the better, right? And look, I know that there is an elephant in the room. I know that there is. And I'm not going to name any names, but I want you to know that we can do things, and if we do things that aren't for the dark side, right? If we're able to use technology for good and we do it the right way, we can be proud of what we do, right? We can actually be proud and happy of what we're doing. And if we do that, there's going to be a lot less of this and a lot more of these. And I can tell you, there is no greater feeling in the world than that. Thank you. So I know that there are, I think we have like 6 or 7 minutes for questions, and I'm going to answer questions, but one question that I always get is, if we could go back to the slides for a second, there's one question that I always get, which is, you know, how can we help you, or how can we get involved in that kind of stuff, and I'm getting better at this. I'm not very good at this, so please excuse me, but a shameless plug is I do keynotes and webinars and that kind of stuff, so if you are looking for motivation or speaking and that kind of stuff, I would love to be able to help you out to do those things, especially I'm looking at you, Click, being able to help you with maybe one of your launches. So I do have to say that, but also, you know, if you need to get in touch with me, I'm always open and hearing from everybody, and I will answer any question. I talk a lot, and I like what I do, so please reach out, and I'm very, very happy to talk to everybody. Thank you. Questions?
Hello. Hello. Thank you so much, David. I'm a researcher at Princess Margaret Cancer Center, and we have something similar going on at the Cancer Center. I'm also a professor at Northeastern University. So in terms of manpower, if you need anyone who build those digital twins, and we have the capabilities and capacity, feel free to reach out. But my comment is that there's one way to monetize the great project that you mentioned. At Princess Margaret, we try to build artificial patients. So these patients will preserve their life story, their struggles, how they deal with their cancers during their journey. Some of them are successful, they are survivors. Some of them could be, they could pass away already because it's a terminal. A lot of them are terminal cancers patients.
Amazing.
So one group at North York General, a surgeon, Dr. Osman, she already collected about 4,000 patients.
Oh, amazing.
So then feel free to connect and reach out, and we can talk more. But the digital twin that you mentioned can be serve as a guidance or a source of information for patient, and a lot of patients will be able to afford to use this as a service.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you. And I think it's also a good point. Every time I talk there, there's always other use cases. There's always new things that can be done, and I think that's sort of why I was saying is that yes, we can do these things, but we also have to do them in the right way. I mean, we're all talking about the ethics. We're talking about the guidance, all those kind of things. But again, we also have to make it so that they're human and they're nice and they're actually pleasant to deal with. And I think that's something that we're going to start seeing a lot more of. Yeah. So thank you. And 100% I'll be reaching out to do that for sure. Yeah. And please, I'm very much looking for I want to be able to help everybody and for you to help me. So I will reach out to anybody and everybody who gets in touch with me. Yeah. Yes.
Yes, hi, I'm Dalia Shanshal. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. I was wondering more in terms of the technicalities of the product. So if I'm a user, and how long does it take for me? Is it just me filling up questions, or is it a back and forth like a ChatGPT getting to know my personality? How long will this process take before it can actually have a concept of who Dalia is?
Yes, that's a great question, and my answer is yes.
As in?
So the answer is actually, it depends, right? So what we've been able to do is, like, when I started it out, it was me sitting with a patient, right? And I would sit there and I would actually start asking the questions, and I realized that the questions that I asked were actually dealing with someone like my dad, who's also a little bit autistic, is like trying to pull information out of him when he doesn't remember things, and so I realized I had to flip the questions so that I would ask them in a way that it would be more knowledgeable, and like, tell me a time that you were romantic, because if you asked him, were you romantic with that date, he wouldn't answer. But if you actually get him to talk about him being romantic, then he can do something like that. For other patients, I had one patient that they were very awkward, and they didn't want to be in the same room, and they kind of wanted to just have all of their answers not seen, right? And and they were more comfortable writing everything down, so they actually typed everything out, right? And so that's how they did it. We are doing it so that we have a bot that will be able to ask the questions. The problem that I'm finding with a bot that's asking questions is they're missing the nuances. So when someone is uncomfortable with something, I can see that. The AI can't see it. And yes, you do the voice analyzation and seeing if they're feeling awkward with those things, but I can visibly see, and even if you have a camera, like, they're still missing some of those things. Or they'll say something from before, and in an offhand comment, which will come back later on, and I will be able to piece those two together, which AI, yes, it can, and it's starting to do, but it still misses those things. So it's a little bit of everything. The other thing, very interesting thing that I'm doing right now is that I've got two Wish coordinators with me. My daughters are actually asking questions now. Because what I found is that with kids identify with kids. They're very awkward when they'll answer my questions, but it's not a laughing, fun story when I was, but they actually do that with other kids. And so having my girls being able to ask the questions produces different data. Yeah, great question.
Thank you so much. And yeah, the reason why I asked that is because I think there's a lot of opportunity in the war zones and these refugee camps.
Oh, yes.
And, yes, so
Yeah.
that's why I asked you how long does it take to
To answer that question,
we can talk about it later.
Yeah,
if
sure.
you'd
To
like.
very, very quickly, I know it says please wrap up, but very, very quickly, what it is the questions, if it's, you go through the whole amount of questions, it's usually about a day and a half to go through them, but I never sit and ask you for a day and a half, right? And so you'll get them in little spurts and be able to do it. And then if it's, as I said, if someone is been diagnosed and they're going to die imminently, then we have a priority in terms of those questions. So, and then the return is very quick. So yeah, just to be able to answer you. Someone else had a question. Oh no, I'm being told no. Oh, look at that, like no, like no. So if you have any other questions, please, I'm here and I'll be here for today and tomorrow. So please do ask me. Yeah, thank you so much.